guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I've got a nice little video with, I have 3 categories plus a bonus category of French books, or like books from French literature that you may enjoy if you are not familiar with French literature yet. So I just made like 3 categories of books that are easier to read up until like books that are more complex in their subjects, if that makes any sense. And then the bonus category, since, you know, French people being French people, I thought, let's throw in a super duper mega disturbingly erotic book that you may need therapy after reading, I don't know, but it's very French, let's put it that way. So I'll throw that in last as a bonus category. First category for beginners, if you're just getting into French literature, I would start here. These are more lighthearted subjects, I guess, or they're just funner reads, I guess. So the first book I'm going to recommend, which I feel like everyone should read once in their life, is The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Don't worry about the spelling, I'll list them down below in the description. So, The Little Prince is such a classic. It's originally a kid's novel, but it's one of those books that when you read it as a kid, it's cute and whimsical, but when you read it as an adult, it's so deep and insightful. It's amazing. I love that book. Did you know it's the most translated book from the French language? There you go. The second read is Fables by Jean de La Fontaine. So that is what he's famous for. He wrote a lot of fables. They're very well known. They're pretty easy to read, as fables are, and it's a staple of French literature. I would totally recommend. The next one I have is Guy de Maupassant. So Guy de Maupassant wrote a lot of short stories. They're pretty easy to read since they are short stories. So that's my third recommendation, Guy de Maupassant's short stories. And my last recommendation, for this section is Astérix and Obélix by René Goscinni. So I'm putting Asterix and Obelix in this one, the comic book. It's a comic book, by the way, if you didn't know. But there's a lot of different comic books from France. Do not mistake French and Belgian comic books, okay? It's like French fries. French fries aren't French, they're Belgian, okay? Just throwing it in there. Anyway, so Astérix and Obélix is definitely French. I grew up with it. In fact, fun little story, in France, like, American culture growing up is centered a lot around Disney. In France, we have Disneyland, but it's not, like, at least when I was a kid, it wasn't that big of a deal. But there was a theme park after Asterix and Obelix, which was like kind of like a Disneyland, but Asterix and Obelix themed, and I went there when I was a kid. I didn't go to Disneyland. So my next section is intermediate. So for this one, we're getting a little deeper into maybe more complicated subjects, maybe. So the first one, very relevant to 2020, I guess, is The Plague by Albert Camus. So this is the story of a town that gets hit by a plague, and yeah. Anyway, so, but it was a fun book. When I read it, I thought it was a very easy read. I read it in French, though, not in English, but I do think it's really well written. My next recommendation maybe is, I think this book would, if it wasn't as famous as it is, I would have put it maybe in the advanced section, but because everyone knows the story, I feel like we can keep it on the intermediate. Les Misérables, oh, when I say it in English it sounds weird. Les Misérables by Victor Hugo, we all know it. Most of us love it, I guess. So obviously you know that one. May I also recommend, while we're here, Contemplations. So this one is not a novel like Les Mis. Contemplations is a poem collection that Victor Hugo wrote about his daughter, or like to his daughter after she died. If you don't know, she drowned in the Seine. The Seine is the river that flows through Paris. So after she died and drowned, he wrote Contemplations. And it's really well written. It's pretty beautiful. So if you like Les Mis and Victor Hugo's writing style, then you can check out that book too. My next recommendation is a play. So this one is Lorenzaccio by Alfred de Musset. So this is a play. I wanted to throw in a few different genres in this list. So this play, I actually read it in high school. It's about the Medici family, basically. It takes place in Italy, and it's kind of like about corruption and family dynamics. It's really good. I really liked it. I reread it a couple times, not just for school, but, well, mainly for school, but, you know. And then my next recommendation, so this one, I think it's kind of a bridge between intermediate and advanced. I kind of hesitated on which category to put it in, but this one is Paris Spleen by Charles Baudelaire. Baudelaire is one of my favorite French poets of all time. I feel like he's kind of similar in his themes, not his writing style or anything, but maybe in his themes. He's a little bit similar to Emily Dickinson. Maybe not as much centered around death, but kind of. So Paris Spleen is actually it's a poetry collection that's actually a continuation of Flowers of Evil, or Les Fleurs du Mal in French. I really loved both of them. I hope you do too. Alright, moving forward, our advanced section. Okay, so first up, I'm going to throw in a playwright. This is Molière. If you don't know him, he is like a staple in French literature. Now, the only reason his plays aren't that complicated, but he is from the 1600s or 1700s, I believe. But he was from back in the day where they used Old French. So it's like the themes aren't complicated, but the wording may be a little more complicated. I don't know. I threw him in the advanced section. So one play I really liked was L'Avare, or The Avarious. Okay. I'll throw in the translation later. Did you know, fun fact, Molière also was an actor in some of his plays, and he died on stage. I'm not even kidding. He has a play called The Imaginary Invalid, or Le Malade Imaginaire, and there's a scene where the invalid is laying in bed and pretending to be sick, and so he played that, and he died in bed on stage. Fun fact for you. So my next recommendation is La Bête Humaine, or The Human Beast, by Émile Zola. Now, Émile Zola is more 1800s, I believe. Don't quote me on that. He's not Old French, is what I mean, but the themes of his novels are a little bit heavier and deeper. The Human Beast is a metaphor for the industrialization period when machinery took over and it was like a beast, right? But so Émile Zola, I probably think any of his books are more advanced. So, but there's a lot of things I like and dislike about his books, but he's a staple of French literature. His works are amazing, and if you're up for the challenge, go for it. My next one is also one of my favorite French poets. So you can get his poems, I believe it's just called Complete Poems or something, by Arthur Rimbaud. Now, Rimbaud is very descriptive, crude. I can't remember if it was him or Baudelaire, but one of the two used my name as an adjective to describe an anus. That was really cool. I was so happy. Celeste is my name, by the way. And to one of them, an anus is celestial. goals. Anyway, did you know about Rimbaud that from his pictures, if I can find one, I'll throw it up. Apparently, he looks a lot like Leonardo DiCaprio. And fun story, our French teacher told us this story in high school, so if it's not true, it's her fault. But I think it's awesome. So Rimbaud was actually from the French countryside, so he had that, you know, accent thing going on, a thick accent, and when he wanted to be a poet, he decided to move to Paris. But because he had a countryside accent, everyone would make fun of him. They'd be like, oh, he's like, you know, that guy from the countryside, he's so, like, you know, like, he's a peasant, what's he doing here, like, we're sophisticated, blah, blah, blah. And so one time there was a poet dinner, and he was at that dinner with a bunch of poets. Everyone was making fun of him. So what did he do? My hero. He stood up on the table and pissed on everything. Gotta love him! See, just for that reason, you have to read his books. That's the gist of his poetry. Check it out. So those are the first 3 categories. Now let's go in on our bonus round. Our very raunchy recommendation. So yeah, I figured French people being French, let's live up to that stereotype and throw in a super erotic, raunchy book. When I read it, I felt like it was very liberating, actually. This book is called Histoire de l'œil, or Story of the Eye, by Georges Bataille. This is by far better than any porn you've ever seen, ever, or read. This is like raunchy ass fluids all over the place. Anyway, I hope you like these recommendations. Let me know if you plan on reading any of them, or if you have read any of them. What did you think? I know there's a few on this list that I want to read or reread. With that being said, follow me on Goodreads, follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I post there occasionally too, some fun stuff. Let me know what you think down below. Like this video if you did, and subscribe to my channel for more content. And maybe I'll throw in a couple raunchy recommendations here and there in the future. Alright guys, see you later.